So let me ask that question. Who has seen the movie? I know I was not the biggest fan of it when I watched the film many years ago. Yet, from the title of the story, I am living and sharing my experience from being in a cabin in the woods. Ironic, I know. This is not like the films. I have to just put it out there. But let us get on with it. So, I was pretty much a daredevil and done a lot of stupid things in my life, with friends to prove I was not afraid and full of life. But I think also to prove to myself that I can do these things. Even though many of the things I had done was not exactly the smartest thing to do. And before you wonder, I never done extreme things like rob someone or do some crazy stupid things like that. The kind of things I would do was go into apparent haunted abandoned houses or stay in a graveyard overnight alone, etc. So, one night, I was with all my friends. They were speaking about a cabin in the woods that was 2 mountains over and was in the middle of nowhere. Of course, you can see where this is going. They dared me to stay in the cabin overnight on my own. And of course, you already know my answer. I full-heartedly accepted. So, the next day came. Coming to the end of summer, we all made our way over to the cabin. And by all, I mean roughly around 6 of us. That also included myself. It took a few hours to reach the cabin, and to when we did, they wished me luck and left me to it. No food, no cell service, no company, and no way of finding my way out if I was to become lost. The challenge secretly lit a fire within myself with excitement. Alone, and knowing I would have to make my own way back come the morning. My friends loved trying to play mind games though, trying to make me scared of what was in the woods or how it was haunted, so I kept that information also in the back of my mind. But the first thing I noticed was just how eerie it was. It was silent, but peaceful, if you like this sort of thing. Great. This was going to be a long night. So let me tell you about what I was seeing. Darkness. The exciting times, right? The woods surrounding the cabin was dense, too dense to see anything far in the distance. Not that I could see it in the night anyway. But the cabin itself consisted of 3 rooms. I guess the main room that was a living room cum kitchen, a bathroom that literally consisted of a hole in the floor, then a bedroom that had nothing in it. At least the window was not smashed. So, for the most part, things were pretty standard and boring. I was aware of the typical sounds of nature during the night, so I never let these play on my mind too much as I settled down, pacing the rooms and keeping an eye out for what I was sure to be my friends coming to scare me. But as the night ticked on by, and I had nothing to do or watch, with an ever-dying phone battery, I found myself slowly becoming isolated to the bedroom with the door closed. And especially when I started to hear a tap on the window. Unfortunately for me, it was the bedroom window. For a while I was scared, and really did not have the courage to stand up and look out the window. But then I thought about it, and maybe it was just my friends and smiled, thinking the next time it knocked I would surprise them, before they were able to scare me more. Good or bad decision? Well, it's time for you to find out. It took them a few minutes to knock again, giving me enough time to stand and get myself prepared. Then the window knocked again, and I peeked through the curtain gap to see a man with his face pressed up against the window. Eyes wide, looking around the room. Thankfully, it was dark as I was preserving my battery, but this was not my friends. I jumped out of my skin, even stumbled back a little, feeling my heart pounding out of my chest. This was all becoming too real now. Someone else was out here with me, and I dropped to the floor, now more scared than I ever had been before. Part of me thought my friends could have hired someone or something to scare me, justifying what was actually happening. But then my mind was truly questioning that if this were a strange man, in the middle of the woods, alone, and dangerous. I was trapped, like a deer standing at the edge of a cliff with a pack of wolves circling around it. I checked back at the window and saw that the man had gone into the night. I tested the window handle to see if it would open, but it did not. But I felt like if I had put some force into it, it would open. Not that I felt any safer in knowing this information, as the entire cabin had no lock, and the windows were single pane. But then I heard someone step into the cabin. Heart was racing before? Shit, I felt like I was having a heart attack now. They stepped heavy and seemed to be looking around. I could hear them rummage through the kitchen cupboards. At this point, I was literally pulling as hard as I could to get this man-made window open. But it was not budging. I was seriously considering breaking the glass as I heard this person, who I presumed to be the same man, knock on the bedroom door. It was as if he was toying with me. I looked back at the window as I put everything into yanking it open one last time, and thankfully it gave in. I swung open the window, and was halfway through it when I felt someone grabbing my legs, and I let out a pretty wimpy scream, admittedly. I could feel this person pulling me back as I was kicking frantically. I must have knocked him over or something because I fell to the ground on the outside and ran for my life. I ran as fast as I could and made my way home the same way I arrived. I could hear the sounds of this man chasing me, but I was pretty fit. Always loved going for runs, so I was able to not only outpace him, but I was able to run without stopping. That was until I looked back briefly and found my foot caught on something stuck in the ground and I tumbled over. I ended up falling down a hillside and took me a while before I was able to get back up to my feet. By that point, the man was standing at the top, looking down with his massive silhouette. We just stared at each other for a bit before he really decided to run off in the distance. I just stood there and watched him go, not really knowing why I was not running myself. But then I took off. I ran without the knowledge of where he was, but thankfully made it back home. Believe me when I say this, do not go looking for this type of thrill. By the time I got home and crashed in my bed, thankful I made it home, whilst having to be quiet so I did not wake my mum up, I messaged all my friends in the group chat and told them they were dicks. I could not sleep the entire time, as every little noise made me panic with fright, thinking the man had somehow seen where I lived. The next day we all met up, and they were telling me over and over that they did not send anyone, or nobody had come over. Not sure if I fully believe them, but if they were telling the truth, then who the hell was out there in the woods late at night? And what would they have done with me if they had caught me? I guess we will never know for sure, and I am thankful for that. I would like to say it calmed down my antics, and it did to an extent, but not enough to make me stop completely. I was just a lot more choosy about the things I had done, and so should you be.